Good evening. Welcome to the LISD Board of Trustees January Board Meeting. I would like to announce that a quorum is present, the meeting has been duly called, and notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. We will now convene into closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code Section 551, specifically 551.071, 072, 074, and 082. The time is 6:01 p.m. Thank you.
You know what I like doing?
What?
Photosynthesis.
What's that?
Photosynthesis is how I make my food yummy in my tummy.
Oh, is it when you combine sunlight and energy to make glucose?
Yeah.
I didn't use photosynthesis.
taking on a life of its own,
Yeah.
for God's sakes.
Well, we just kind of corral.
Looks like you want to lay your head down on the table and say, oops. Okay, let's go. Good evening, everyone. We will now reconvene into open session. The time is 7:02. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. I hope you all had a great holiday break, wonderful Christmas, and Happy New Year to you all. We need to consider items discussed in closed session. I need a motion, please. Ms. Duke?
Do I need to say the motion?
Who would? Yes, please. Sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I move that all personnel recommendations be approved as presented by administration.
That is a motion, Ms. Duke. A second, Ms. Sheffield. All in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous. I need a second motion, please.
Ms. Duke, I move that William Skelton be appointed as the principal for the Flower Mound High School 9th grade campus.
I have a motion, Ms. Latham. Second, Mr. McDaniel. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? That is unanimous and I think Mr. Skelton is here. Yes. Would you like to come up? Please. We actually want to have a picture taken with you and I believe the group who's here, the committee was here, the members of the committee, the Flower Mound. Everybody, come on up. If you had a say, please come up. No time for being shy.
He can introduce his family.
I know. Yes. Okay, why don't you all step up here? Do you want to get up there with him and take a picture? You want the committee, would you?
Don't take that to LHS. No, go ahead.
Mr. Skelton, do you want to introduce your family? Okay, I know Ms. Lael couldn't make it here tonight, but Ms. Leah's Carjanis is here, so that's the representation from Flower Mound. Congratulations, sir. Okay, we're moving on to awards, recognitions, and presentations. Tristan is here? Okay, Tristan Wilson is going to present the Stuff the Pantry Food Drive winners.
Okay, it is my pleasure to present the food drive winners this year. The food drive was held in November, but due to the blizzard in December, we had to push back the recognition. So the district collected more than 90,000 pounds of food this year and provided more than 20,000 meals to families in need through the food drive, which was just 1 week. So more than we've ever collected. So they did a great job. And the winner this year is Downing Middle School for the classroom and the campus winner. So if you guys would please come up. And we have with us the Director of Marketing Communications from CCA, Gary Daniels, and Hometown Hero, Susan Allen, who would also like to come up, who are going to give a presentation to the winning students.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Gary Daniels, Director of Communications with CCA, and thanks for the hard work here. That 90,000 pounds is quite amazing, about 20,000 meals, as she mentioned. Also helped us fulfill 1,300 meals over the holidays for families that needed assistance, so that was awesome. Thank you. We have an award for the school. I don't know who to give this to. Are you Mrs. Lentz? Okay. Okay, well, this is awesome.
That is correct.
And this is for this. Outstanding. I do want to take a picture.
While they're getting the photo real quick, I was going to say that Mrs. Lynn's class had 13 kids, and they collected 1,125 items, which is 86 items per kid. So they did a phenomenal job. In partnership with CCA and Hometown Heroes, they're going to present a check to the winning campus. And also with partnership with CCA, the classroom winner gets to go to the Perot Museum for free. And so you guys get to do that in the spring whenever it's convenient for you. So congratulations. And I'm going to turn it over to Susan Allen, who wants to present you guys with a check.
We just always love, we did this last year and I love it. And it's very something that's near and dear to our heart. And she knows, I mean, I've done some things with y'all's campus, and I love y'all's campus, and I love y'all's competitive spirit and your generous heart. So thank y'all so much.
Yeah. And Downing Middle School wants to say a few words real quick.
My name's Quinn Owen, and I'm the NJHS president for Downing Middle School. During the holiday season, we often lose sight of the things that matter most. We focus on packages tied up in ribbon rather than what we already possess. We have all heard before, it's better to give rather than receive. But it's times like this when we get caught up in the hectic season and tend to forget the truth in which this saying holds. This is why Downing Middle School students and faculty were so willing to contribute towards this year's food drive. Being able to help the families in need this season gratified our school. Downing wishes to thank the CCA as well as all of the schools in the Lewisville Independent School District for helping to make this year's food drive such a success. Additionally, we would like to thank Hometown Heroes for the check that we are now able to donate to the CCA. We hope you have a happy new year. Thank you.
And Dr. Waddell, you're up next. School Board Recognition Month.
We'll give them a chance to get out. Thank you, Ms. Kyer. As I think everybody can see around the room, this is School Board Appreciation Month. That's always in January. And all of these wonderful banners were done by our various schools. There's more in the hallway, there's some upstairs, and they're just lovely, and some of the best I've seen. So the schools did a fantastic job, I thought, and I want to thank them for taking the trouble to do that. That took a lot of work. And we all appreciate the school board members here in LISD and school board members across the state for the service they do. They don't get paid, contrary to popular belief, perhaps. They do this as a service to the community, and it's I can't think of any better service to the community than serving on a public school board. And these guys, I'll attest, work hard. It's an honor for me to get a chance to work with these board members. And I know for a fact that in working with them, what I've seen over the years I've been here is they base all their decisions on what they believe is best for children. I have a proclamation I'm going to read, so if you'll bear with me. Whereas the mission of the public schools is to meet the diverse educational needs of all children and to empower them to be competent, productive contributors to a democratic society in an ever-changing world. And whereas local school board members are committed to children and believe that all children can be successful learners and that the best education is tailored to the individual needs of the child. And whereas local school board members work closely with parents, education professionals, and other community members to create the educational vision we want for our students. And whereas local school board members are responsible for ensuring the structure that provides a solid foundation for our school system. And whereas local school board members are strong advocates for public education and are responsible for communicating the needs of the school district to the public and the public's expectations to the district. Now, therefore, I, Dr. Stephen F. Waddell, do hereby declare my appreciation to the members of the Lewisville ISD School Board and proclaim the month of January 2014 as School Board Recognition Month. I urge all citizens to join me in recognizing the dedication and hard work of local school board members and in working with them to mold an education system that meets the needs of both today's and tomorrow's children in official recognition whereof, January 13th day of January 2014. Please join me in giving an applause to our school board members.
Thank you, sir. We do appreciate all of the hard work the students and the schools put into all of these wonderful posters. I know that the board agrees. Just if you get a chance, even go up in room D. There's more up there, and I believe they're going to be putting all the pictures of every one of them online so that everybody can see them. That's not here today, but it's every year they get better and better, and these really are just, they're amazing. So thank you. Does anybody else want to say? No? Okay. Moving on to hear requests to address the board. Persons desiring to address the Board of Trustees must fill out a speaker's card prior to the meeting. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. The board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda. We do have a timer up on the big screen. There we go. Thank you. And I have a number of cards. I didn't count how many we have here, but I'll just call them as I receive them. So the first name I have is Dave Cohn.
Hi, my name is Dave Cohn, and I am a speech teacher over at Hebron High School. And recently, the House Bill 5 news has hit that speech is most likely going to be eliminated from the curriculum. And that's something I wanted to address just kind of real quickly. Is a big move in education right now is flexibility, and that's kind of the big motion why some classes are being removed. But flexibility at what cost? And something I want to consider. I know you guys are the board is voting on today, but the class that we teach, communication application, is not just a public speaking class, which for most of us, we all know it's the number one fear people have, but it's also a communication course, a real-world communication course. And that's something this generation is sorely missing. We think they know how to communicate, but they don't. They have technology. They don't know how to use it properly. They can't send an email correctly. They can't correspond face-to-face interactions. They struggle on daily interactions with bosses, with teachers, with each other. And that's something that's covered in the course that we teach. And for example, I took a little informal survey of my students just to see which students would take the class if it's voluntary, because it's going to be, I still remain as an elective but not be required. Of the 60, 70 students that were surveyed, over 2/3 of them would not volunteer to take the class. And they had a variety of reasons. A lot of them was fear of speaking. However, of those students, 80% of the students surveyed actually said the class was beneficial. Regardless if they liked the class or not, they found it beneficial. And the problem is, of all the students who said they would not volunteer to take the course, all of my special needs students and ESL students were ones who would not volunteer. So I'm scared that if we eliminate the class as a requirement, the students who need the class the most are ones least likely to take it. And these are the ones who are not getting exposed to in other aspects of their life. Now, they do presentations of other courses, but in those presentations, it's solely on content, not delivery. And as we all know, delivery can make or break your presentation. And I'm scared that these students not being exposed to this or being required to take the course will cause them to be limited when they go to the next level. At the first time to give a major presentation in front of a college professor, rather than the friendly confines of our high school of 30 students, a class of 30 students versus a college classroom of 200 students, they haven't been prepared for that. That's their goal, is preparing for the future, not just for college, but also the workplace. And that's something I'm afraid that we'll be missing if this class is no longer required of the students, because we as humans, we avoid stuff that we don't like, and most people hate public speaking. And the thing is, though, unless we're forced to put ourselves out there, we never will. And that's something I just would like the board to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next name I have is Verda Lawson.
Good evening. My name is Verda Lawson, and I teach at Lewisville High School, Harmon. I've had the opportunity to teach communication applications for 13 years. Most of that time has been teaching 9th graders, and recently I've taught 9 and 10. During that time, I had the opportunity to teach students with various disadvantages. Some of them have economic disadvantages, some have social disadvantages, and some have academic disadvantages as well. It's sad to say, but some of the students that I teach will not go to college. But in communication applications, the students will learn various ways to communicate. They learn the basics of communication. They learn interviewing skills so that they can go out and find a job. They know how to ask the right questions on an interview. They know how to communicate professionally. They also study intra and interpersonal communication skills as well as group dynamics. I feel that these skills are necessary for our 9th, 10th graders. Now, I am not an official spokesperson for the 910 campus, but I'm only speaking from the standpoint of my experience and also as a parent of two children who have graduated from LISD. My petition for you today is that we do not eliminate these children, because we are all that they have. They need to know that they have confidence to be able to speak. They need to know that they have the ability to go out and find a job, because some of them, unfortunately, have to go to work because they cannot continue their professional, their education. So I thank you so much tonight for listening to me, and I hope that you would consider this when you vote.
Thank you, ma'am. Tracy Miller.
Okay, is this hot? All right. Dr. Waddell, President Kyer, trustees, staff, members of the community, my name is Tracy Miller, and I want to speak in support of the agenda item this evening with the contract of Serenity High School. Although I have no doubt that that contract is going to pass, I wanted to make sure that it got some special attention. As many of you know, I'm a reluctant expert in this area recently, and appreciate a lot of support we've got. Even though I'm certain that this item will pass without my comments, I want to give it special attention. As many of you know, we've been through our journey in dealing with drug abuse and addiction and have seen the devastation, loss of life, and impact it's had on our daughter and our family. I won't speak in great detail, given the age of some of the audience, but I'm confident that all of you know the issues well. And in fact, the district has been very helpful in the forums. Dr. Rogers, I think Mr. Taggart, Ms. Duke, in being active in the community on these issues. Knowing that many of you have been praying for our family, I'm glad to report that our daughter is now in a stronger position, now back in college studying to be a teacher. English teacher, actually, is her preference, for kindergarten through 5th. We are very proud of her decision and more so her commitment to help others keep from enduring the same challenges and avoid some of the catastrophic consequences the disease of addiction can cause. The disease of addiction is powerful, overwhelming, and confusing at times, but something we believe we can care for together as a community. We've established a nonprofit called Redeeming Joy in cooperation with the Denton County court system to provide equal support to users who find themselves before the courts and who are in a desperate need of physical and emotional support. As some of you know, I've spoken to some of you already. We all know, and I think you'd agree, that bringing a student back in the system after a process of rehabilitation is no small task, and in fact puts a burden on teachers and staff who already are shackled with high-stakes testing and various social pressures that are brought into the school from the outside. In fact, I believe it's tougher to bring a student back into the school system than it is to bring someone back into the workplace. My wife and I fully support the pending action, but also note that the Serenity is 32 miles from Flower Mound High School and does place an additional burden on families, a burden that I'm sure caring families will gladly assume. However, I would just ask that this be considered the first in a series of actions necessary to alleviate the burden from our schools and assist our students and families, and that we continue to partner to address the growing concern in North Texas within the district. We need to continue to support groups like Winning the Fight, Celebrate Recovery, AANA, and Recovery at the Village as programs that can augment important steps like the one that I hope you'll take this evening. Respectfully, Tracy Miller.
Thank you, sir. The next name I have is Anthony Mazur.
A website about promoting fundamental values and student morality on campus, and a racist, hate-filled website with, quote, "In order for black people to survive the 21st century, we are going to have to kill a lot of whites, more than our Christian hearts can possibly count." What do these seemingly unrelated sites have in common? I tried to access them both on my school-issued iPad. As many are aware, the LISD proxy blocks inappropriate websites. However, one of these websites I just mentioned was blocked, and the other was accessible. If you guessed Kill a Lot of Whites was the site that was blocked, you're wrong. I am a freshman at Flower Mound High School, and I have been doing a lot of research and found that on this iPad, the proxy, said to prevent students from visiting inappropriate websites, is censoring different viewpoints on different topics. For example, the moment I researched Muslim terrorism, the LISD proxy blocks it under the category violence/undesirable politics. However, when I researched Christian terrorism, I was brought to unblocked sites that are full of anti-Christian sentiment, lies, and so-called violence committed by Christians. If I wanted to write a persuasive essay on, say, gay marriage, I can view all the arguments on why it should be legal. But when I try to access websites with the opposite point of view, some are blocked. Why? The reason I stand before you today is because I want to know what criteria is used to determine what sites are blocked. Is it those that are offensive? Maybe. The KKK website is blocked, but War on the Horizon, a black supremacist website telling people to kill whites, and I quote, crackers, is not. How is this criteria determined? Is there a vote on it? Why is it okay for some viewpoints to be censored and not others? Ladies and gentlemen, this is no different than Nazi Germany when the Nazis burnt books. Lewisville Independent School District is burning digital books with a digital flame. Can we know who is accountable and responsible for letting this happen? Thank you.
The next name I have, excuse me, is Ginny Evans.
Happy New Year. President Kier, Vice President Duke, school board members, Dr. Waddell, and the attendees here this evening. I want to thank all of you for your active participation in LISD. Strong communities build strong schools, and strong schools build strong students. Your engagement demonstrates the commitment of this community to quality public schools. Most of you know who I am. I am Jenny Evans, president of the Lewisville Education Association. At this time, I would like to take the privilege to introduce my vice president, Mickey DiPaolo. We have entered a momentous era for our public schools. Over the next several months and years, our education landscape will continue the transformation that began with the implementation of the new high school curriculum, a revision of state testing requirements, and the waiver from certain requirements of NCLB. At the state level, a new accountability system begins this school year, with the standards of performance as high as they have been in my career as an educator. They will emphasize student achievement, student progress, the closing of the achievement gaps, and post-secondary readiness. A new teacher appraisal instrument will be piloted next year for full implementation in 2015-2016. A teacher appraisal instrument that Commissioner Williams wants to include a robust local component. This appraisal instrument will be founded on the rigorous teacher standards proposed in the Commissioner's rules that will be implemented sometime this spring. On the federal level, we have things coming down on discipline gap. It's positive, reduce disruption, misconduct, and reinforce positive behavior and character development, but ultimately helping students succeed. We have many challenges that we face as school, and hopefully, students make the right choices. We graduate our kids and they go on to college. Oh, and yes, let's not forget, this is also the election season, with the legislature convening a year from now to continue to address many educational issues. As you know, LEA, we are committed to working with LISD to ensure that our members, staff, and community are engaged in the process that will impact our classrooms and our students. And as our landscape transforms, your leadership, staff engagement, and community support will help LISD effectively address the jolts that we encounter over the next several years, securing for Lewisville, LISD, a place among the great school districts in Texas and across the country. Thank you, and thank you, School Board, for all that you do for us, and we love you.
Thank you, Jenny. The next name I have is Joyce Fuel.
Good evening. I knew you were going to ask me to follow her. Good job, Jenny. On behalf of Lewisville Chapter of United Educators Association, we'd like to express our gratitude to this school board for continued excellence in service, never faltering when it comes to asking the tough questions, putting our students first. UEA will be presenting a check to LEF, the Lewisville Education Foundation, in the honor of the school board. So I was going to try not to get nervous. But the more school board meetings I attend, the more I appreciate you all. I see a lot of the challenges that you face, and that's just from our end and sitting in the auditorium. So I really appreciate y'all. UEA appreciates you all, and I know our students do too. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The next name I have is Christina Soderberg. Soderberg. Did I get that right?
Good evening, Dr. Waddell and President Kyer and the fellow board. My name is Christina Soderberg, and I'm a parent of 3 children. 2 of them attend Donald Elementary, and 1 attends speech in the preschool program at Donald Elementary. First of all, I'd like to thank you tonight and recognize your efforts, your tireless efforts to ensure we're providing the best education possible to my children. I support the strategic design and the 1 to X initiative, and I would like to comment specifically on the 1 to X initiative rollout at Donald Elementary this year. I feel that this is my 2nd year at Donald Elementary, and I feel that the difference between last year and this year, after completing the first semester, has been very positive. I think that my children, a 3rd grader and 1st grader, have received many instructional benefits as a result of having the iPad rollout from the 1st to the 5th grade at Donald Elementary. I feel that they've been able to have a more individual learning, a tool for more individualized learning. For example, my son learning his multiplication tables, I learned them on flashcards. He's able to learn them on an app and be much more engaged in the learning process. My daughter, who's in the 1st grade, did do presentations in the fall, and she used the iPad as a tool set to do amazing presentations, and had her voice on the presentation, typed, was able to select her own pictures, and research the content herself. And I find that absolutely amazing, that we're giving the children such a tool set that they will be able to compete in the global marketplace. I would also like to talk about the rollout in Donald Elementary and just praise the efforts of Mrs. Wooten, our principal, and our vice principal, Holly Shelton, as well as the teachers and staff, because I feel that Mrs. Wooten really prioritized the rollout as being seamless and smooth, not only with the students, but with the parents and the teachers. And she provided a one-on-one orientation to each student and parent at the beginning of the year. And then she has come to every PTA and PTA board meeting. I also serve on the PTA board. She has done parents' nights. She has done appy hours. We call them appy hours, where we give concrete examples to the parents to come to campus and see what their students are doing on the iPads. And I find that very beneficial because there are some that still wonder, maybe their students aren't able to show them or haven't been showing them, and they're seeing what great benefits their students are receiving on the iPads.
Ma'am, that was 3 minutes.
Okay, well,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
And then Matthew Soderberg.
We did that just in case you got cut off. Just kidding. So my name's Matt Soderberg. I am Christina's husband, and I really just want an opportunity to say thank you for the 1 to X program. My wife and I constantly struggle with the public versus private, given all of the issues that have occurred down in Austin and nationally with education. And when we met Ms. Wooten and learned about the program, it was something that we specifically said we need to keep our kids involved in the public school, because this is a program that's going to differentiate our children as they grow up. So I want to start off saying thank you for that. Our kids, Christina gave some examples, but I just want to say that often they say that you spend your years K through second grade learning to read so that you can read to learn after that. And I feel like the 1-to-X program does that with technology. I hire in my business 200 college graduates a year, and every single one of them is computer savvy and technology savvy, and we do our work on computers and on iPads. And I feel like this program is something that is setting our kids up for the future, and it's a fantastic program. So I really want to take the opportunity to say thank you for your service on the board, and I'll cut it off short because she took a lot of my words that I wanted to say, but I just wanted to say thank you for the program because I think it's a very powerful program for the future of our children.
Thank you, sir. Christy Hassett.
Hello. I agree with the administrative decision points regarding House Bill 5 that are listed on the agenda. And since I don't have much time, I'm going to focus on social studies. But first, I want to say that even though I disagree with some of the teachers speaking today, I greatly and honestly appreciate them coming up and discussing what they think is best for their children, because I think that's very important, and I'm blessed for that. I agree with the administrative recommendation to require students to take the 3 social studies requirements because it matches most universities. I've also asked a few other parents to speak about social studies, and like teachers are sometimes nervous to speak in front of admin, parents are often nervous to speak in contradiction to teachers, so they didn't really want to come up with me. First point for me is the 1 18-week course in high school will not be a magic course to make students global citizens. If we have a social studies problem, we should be addressing it before the lower grades, in the lower grades. I hope the board agrees with the flexibility within House Bill 5 and Strategic Goal 1 to provide students with flexible learning environments. Currently, the graduation plans we have 5.5 electives. With the new Foundation Plus endorsement, we have 7. So if you require social studies, that takes away 1, plus the Algebra 2, which will be an elective because it's not mandated. So that's 2. So if right there we already have less than we have today, which is not good, especially considering that House Bill 5 also instructs the SBOE to create CTE courses for licensing and licensing for kids as they graduate college, and will need additional courses for that later. One of the things for a civil engineer, I want my civil engineer child to have more math and science courses or social studies. Not a whole lot of districts around the state are discussing. We're actually the only one that I can find, and I've also done some research today. I looked at 29 states, didn't have time to look at all 50. 19 of the states also have 3. Only 7 have 4. I understand social studies is a very important topic. I do think 4 years is a good course for most kids, but not all 52,000 kids within our district. I hope that the district adopts the flexibility of House Bill 5 as a chance and gives it a chance before we try to change it. As a parent, I would appreciate being able to determine which courses are best suited for my children. I already gave you my options that I had thought of giving you in lieu of mandating all 4 social studies, and I got through that quicker than I thought. I have the list of 29 states if y'all want it, just so you don't think I'm lying.
We would never think that, ma'am. Thank you very much. The next card I have is Kendra Stevenson.
Christy and I hardly ever disagree. On this subject, we disagree. I have had the privilege of working in every continent in the world. And I will tell you, one of the things that U.S. citizens are horrible about is relating to other cultures. We don't understand their history. We don't most of the time even know where they are. So I would want you to consider not only making it required that they have the 4 credits, but making sure that it's being taught effectively. How I was taught social studies really didn't help me all that much. So I think it's on how you teach it, but I do think it is important. We talk all the time about getting our kids ready to compete in a 21st century economy. Well, it's global. You can't hide from it anymore. Even North Texas is beginning to become way more diverse than it was even when I moved here 10 years ago. The other thing I would leave you with is a lot of the leading industry companies in the world are now starting to hire from liberal arts colleges, specifically because they find that kids are coming out and they're ready to be heads down engineers, but they're not well-rounded. They're ready to go into finance, but they're not well-rounded. They can't relate to their customers. So I just think that's something we should spend a little bit more time with. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about, and I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to review your packet on the RFP that you're going to vote tonight on the review for the GT program and some other things. I would highly encourage you to make that as inclusive as the parents and teachers as possible and select that vendor that's kind of demonstrated that they have been successful. There's a lot of angst out there with the GT parents that we have not been consulted about changes that have happened over the last 3 years. This is going, if it's not done properly, it's just going to make that problem worse. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The next card I have is Susie Rooney.
Good evening, Superintendent Waddell, President Carr, and board members. My name is Susie Rooney, and our family has lived in the district for 19 years. On behalf of myself, my husband, Mike, my son, Marine Lieutenant Jeff Rooney, who has a history and secondary education degree and is certified in the state of Kansas, and my daughter, Megan Rooney, a junior at Oklahoma State, both graduates of Flower Mound High School. We ask you to not remove required world history and world geography from any of the graduation plans. There is no reason to even entertain the idea of not including the world history and world geography in the high school curriculum for any graduation plan. I do not care if the state or any other entity suggests this as an option. The thought of a high school student not being taught world history and world geography is incomprehensible to me. Please do not vote to exclude these two courses from any of the required graduation plans. And after talking here tonight, speech should also probably be left in the requirements. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. And the last card I have is Mr. Stephen No. N-O-E.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Come to you as a parent, concerned parent. I have two children that go to Forestwood Middle School. They are, I guess, subjects of the strategic design with the iPads. And one of the questions that I have, I guess, or one of the things that I'd like to present to you is the results that I see within my family, the changes that I've seen inside my family. Before we had the iPads at home, my kids, they went to bed on time. They didn't spend as much time on these iPads as they do now. Now, it's just been recently that I've been catching my kids up awake at night looking at iPads in the middle of the night because they are enabled on the iPads to play games, do things that are actually not even curriculum related on these iPads. So I question whether the vision of the technology is being achieved with the iPads. I thought the iPads were meant to contain the curriculum for the classes as well as the books and an opportunity for the school to not have to purchase books or curriculum every year, and that the iPad could support PDF versions of the books and curriculum, but it doesn't seem to be that way. There's only supporting applications on the iPads. So I really question the purpose of the iPads, and for at least the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that are on the iPads, it's sort of like you give an inch and they take a yard, and they have found ways around, and this young man here put it very well. He can go on the iPad and do basically anything he wants, and the kids are smart enough to do it. I think the technology is I think the kids are outsmarting the school board with those iPads. So I like to see I do like to see the technology explored inside of the school. But I question the strategy and whether it's well thought out and whether the strategy changes going forward. Is there any checkup amid the school year with this new strategic design on what the iPads are actually achieving? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll have someone from the technology department get in contact with you on any of the problems that you're having. And that was the last request to address the board, so we're moving on to informational items. LISD strategic design, Dr. Haynes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Brockman, are you available for this presentation? Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you again for your service to the students and staff of LISD. We really appreciate you during this Board Recognition Month as well as every single month of the year, so thank you. I'm going to turn it over very quickly here to an outstanding teacher from Creek Valley Middle School and one of her students. They're going to talk to us about how the technology has transformed the learning in the classroom. And I'll let you introduce yourself and your student.
Okay. My name is Rachel Bothner, and I'm from Creek Valley Middle School. I've been teaching there for 12 years, and this is Faith Pierce. She's one of my students, and I actually had the privilege of having her in class last year and this year, so it's been a unique opportunity for her to sort of see how the classroom has changed without having those iPads in our hands every day, and then having the iPads in our hands now. So we just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about how technology has changed things. We've got some examples of some things that we've done in class, and just sort of, you don't get to come out into our classroom every day and see what we're doing, to give you a little glimpse into the really positive good things that the iPads have brought into our classrooms. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was choice. Having the iPads has allowed for us to really give the students a whole lot more choice in their learning and also in the way that they're assessed. Everybody's seen the little cartoon that says if you test a fish by climbing a tree, or the one I'm talking about, that you don't always get the most accurate results. Not all students are going to learn in the same format, and they also can't be assessed in the same format. Providing choice allows them to build a deeper understanding in the way that they can relate to. They can write, they can draw, they can make videos, they can sing songs. All of these things are very valuable in the ways that we can see that they understand what we're trying to teach in class. When they express this in a way that makes sense to them, they're going to retain that information a whole lot longer than if they've just memorized it for a test. And Faith is going to tell you a little bit about a project that I'm going to show you some examples of here.
Well, we had this assignment in class that it was like a mini project, and we had about 30 minutes to do it in class, and that's really all it took. We had to describe photosynthesis and cellular respiration. And in this presentation, you just had to include those two things, and you could do it any way you wanted. You could use the iPads, or you could just write it on paper. And we all had a really fun time making it, while at the same time still learning the information in a way that it actually stuck, instead of just writing it down on pencil and paper. So that really helps with the choice, just being able to do it the way that really helps you learn.
And the amazing thing really was that this was a formative assessment. They had 30 minutes in class to do it. And the products that they have, and I tried to pick really quick little snippets to show you, but the products that they created were phenomenal of the things that they made.
You know what I like doing? What? Photosynthesis. What's that? Photosynthesis is how I make my food. Yummy in my tummy.
Oh, is it when you combine sunlight and energy to make glucose?
Yeah.
I didn't use photosynthesis. What does the plant do? Photosynthesis. 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 What does the plant do? Cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. What does the plant? Photosynthesis converts light energy, water and carbon dioxide. They make food, energy, glucose and oxygen. Cellular respiration are chemical reactions that convert energy in food molecules into energy called AAATP. AAATP. AA.
These are just snippets. It was really hard for me to cut that off because they did the whole song.
I used to bite my tongue and hold my breath, scared to rock the boat and make a mess. So I said quietly, agreed politely. I guess that I forgot I had a choice. I let you push me past the breaking point. I stood for nothing, so I fell for everything. You held me down, but I got.
And then we did have kids do just more of a traditional type of thing where they were writing and drawing and using pictures. And then Prezi, which is what this presentation format is, students used things like that as well. So a very, very wide variety of different things that they were using. 30 minutes in class and it was done. And I was able to really see and understand that they knew what photosynthesis was, cellular respiration, and how they related to each other. The next thing we want to talk about is sort of some of these intentional interactions that using the iPads has allowed for us to have. And I'm going to let Faith tell you about that a little bit.
Well, last year it was really hard for us to communicate because not everybody had phones, not everybody had an email, and with the iPads, one thing that's improved is you can communicate a lot better with your peers and your teachers, and that's really easy, especially with the app that we most rely on, which is called Google Docs, and the teachers have it on their MacBooks, and it really helps them because the teachers can go in anytime they want to comment on things, and the student can just go in and fix it. Whereas last year, when you got an assignment back, it really wasn't required to go and make those changes. It was just kind of like a side note. But with this, Ms. Bothner can correct me, and she gives me that second chance so I can improve my grade a little more, so I can get that better grade. I mean, it's really easy. It's easier to be able to get all of these things done and then to go back and see how you can make it better.
That's the big thing I've noticed is when it was paper and pencil and they turned something in, I'd put comments on there and they just looked at it, oh, okay, that's why I got a 75. And then it went in the trash or maybe they kept it, but they didn't do anything about it. With Google Docs, we're seeing a whole lot more of these intentional interactions that are teacher and student. I just pulled a few little clips from some things that we've done in class, and I tell a kid, your sentence is really good, but you need to explain onto here, and then they go back and they actually fix that in their assignment. So instead of just seeing what they need to do differently, they're actually going back and fixing those things. It's not that difficult because it's in a digital format. They're not having to rewrite everything. Another thing is that students are having a lot of interactions with each other. We did this conclusion, and they went in and they read each other's conclusions and gave feedback to each other before they actually turned those in. And so you can see how the kids were able to make suggestions to each other and then go back and fix those things. The third thing that we wanted to talk to you about today was individualized instruction. And one of the great things that the iPads have done is it's sort of allowed there to be almost two teachers in the classroom. I've done a lot of quick little video clips that I'm not necessarily using as a true flipped classroom. They're not doing it at home and then coming back to school and using that. But they can go and they can watch how to make a microscope slide and how to make a wet mount slide and how to focus the microscope. And then I am also available to have that hands-on instruction because I can't be everywhere when I have 30 kids in a class. It really frees me up to help those students that are maybe struggling a little bit more.
Also, for your students that really understand, they can go on and move a little bit faster. And I've had a lot of parents tell me that it's been really nice because I've put these up on my school webpage, and I have a YouTube channel that I've put my videos on. And the parents can go back and they can look at those also when they're trying to help their kids with some homework or something like that. It just allows the kids to be much more engaged in that environment.
Well, what I remember from last year is a lot of times we would have multiple assignments in the day, especially on those hour-and-a-half days, and Ms. Bothner would kind of overview with us what we were going to do, and then she'd send us off to do the first assignment. And about midway through the assignment, there'd be about 6 kids done. She'd go, all right, you stop what you're doing, I'm going to explain this. And we just have to keep starting and stopping, and by the time you've gotten all the information, you forget it, and you have to go back to the new one, and it's just crazy. And so this year, she gives us multiple videos that are on her school web, and whenever we're ready to do it, we can look at the videos. And instead of having to go ask her, hey, what was the assignment again, you can just watch the video whenever you're ready to do the assignment. And also, in homework, it's not as difficult. You don't have to wait for the teacher to respond if they do. And you can just look at the video again if you need clarification. It's really easy.
And these are just a few little pictures of what my YouTube page looks like, some of the things. Some have more views than others. It's not something kids are necessarily required to do all the time. And then just some kids working with their iPads, the laptop, and then all of our technologies that we have going on. And that's all we have for you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your hard work. Moving on to summer 2014 renovation projects, Dr. Burnett.
As part of our 2008 bond projects and as a result of our facility assessment that we completed in the spring of 2012, we have continued to put together a list of projects that we want to tackle during the spring and summer and have them ready for the fall of 2014. We've, through the work of our facility services and the work of our architectural firm, PBK, we've identified those projects that you see before you with those cost estimates, and it is our intent to bring those back from individually throughout the spring when they've been bid and we're ready to present those results. So this is basically just a look ahead. This item itself is just for information. However, we will have the various proposals to bring forward on the respective projects.
Thank you, sir. Next item is the new demographic study update. Dr. Rogers.
Ms. Kyer, Board, back in September, we went out for an RFP for a demographic study because of the constant growth, the new growth, particularly in West and South Flower Mound, and of course on the east side of our district, we felt it would be important. Templeton Demographics was selected. One of the reasons they were selected is part of their service is they provide quarterly updates. So we have Bob Templeton here, who's going to give a brief overview of their third quarter report. And I will want you to know Dr. Waddell is planning to have a spring board workshop in late March or April, and one of the items that will be discussed in more detail will be our demographic study. So, Mr. Templeton, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President, members of the Board, Dr. Waddell. It's very good to be here with you tonight. As was mentioned, we're a local firm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We work with about 40 school districts across the state of Texas, and we're starting to see some really good things in the economy. Of course, I'll just briefly go through this, but the Texas economy is the strongest economy in the country. We're #1 for job growth, #1 in population growth. The Dallas-Fort Worth area is also one of the strongest cities in the country for job and population growth. One of the big drivers is the energy boom related to oil, and of course, we're continuing to see energy with fracking technology for natural gas and recently with the oil industry as well. But all across Texas, we're seeing very strong job growth. In fact, Texas has 7 of the top producing cities in the country. Austin, McAllen, Houston, Fort Worth make up 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we've got Dallas, Laredo, and Brownsville making up 8, 9, and 10. For new home construction, we are seeing a return of new home construction, so the new home market is picking up. Houston's the #1 city in the country for new home starts. Dallas is second. We're building right at 20,000 homes a year, and when we look at this map of new home starts, you'll notice this dramatic drop-off from 2006. 2006 was that peak year for new home construction across the country. And in Dallas-Fort Worth, we were building right at 50,000 homes a year. And then the housing market plummeted down to lows at about 12,000 units per year in 2009. And then you can see we've had 9 consecutive quarters where we've seen an increase in new home starts. But this housing recovery is not just with new housing, it's also with existing homes. In fact, existing homes are now selling very quickly. This is the MLS data for the Dallas-Fort Worth region. And what you'll notice is that year-to-date sales are up 20%, average price is up 9%, median price is up 10%, numbers of listings is down 14%, and these are 30-year lows for the number of listed homes in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Days on the market is down 25%, months of supply is down 28%. How's this important? Well, what it's doing is it's driving up prices. So we're now seeing prices recovering, new home values are climbing significantly. It's now a seller's market. And today's sellers are now getting multiple offers, and they're typically getting at least their asking price. Now, how is that also significant? Well, it helps your total appraised value. So total appraised values for many of our clients are increasing about 4 to 6%. And as you know, that's significant for your INS side of your revenue. Not as big of a player on the M&O side, but on the INS side, it definitely plays a significant part. We're seeing across our clients an increase of anywhere from 4 to 6% in their total appraised value for our clients. That's likely to be in a very strong position to continue for the next couple of years because the housing market is so strong. The Lewisville School District is ranked 5th in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for new home construction. You're building almost 950 homes annually. Your annual start rate is 946. Annual closing rate is 834. You have 1,598 vacant developed lots, and then you've got 2,549 future lots. Futures are preliminarily platted, paper or future phases, concept plans. So we are seeing a return to development, but the multifamily market is also surging right now as well. So you've got significant multifamily projects going underway in your district as well. And we started tracking foreclosures several years ago because foreclosures were hampering values greatly. And we just thought we'd include this because it shows you what's going on with foreclosures. Foreclosures, as of the third quarter, we're at 56 posted foreclosures, and you can see that is significantly better than how it was in 2010. In 2010, we had over 200 posted foreclosures, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the housing market. As the housing market recovers and things start selling faster, then foreclosures decrease because homeowners that are struggling can sell their homes quicker, and so that's good for your values as well. Just to kind of look at the quarterly picture, as of the third quarter year to date, we were at 725 starts through the first 3 quarters, and you can see that's almost as many as we'd started in the entire year of 2012. We've closed 673, so we're anticipating a very strong closing in the third quarter. So we'll get that data in another about 3 weeks. But you'll likely see close to 230 to 40 closings in the fourth quarter. Here's a map just to give you the highlights of the top 10. The top 10 make up a majority of your annual closings. Number 1 right now is the Castle Hills with 235 annual starts, 266 closings. And you can see it kind of drops off, but this top 10 makes up about 70% of all the activity in the school district. And you'll know it's kind of spread out in a couple of areas. It's in the eastern part of the school district as well as kind of in the central area of the school district. Here's the top 10 for vacant developed lots. We use this housing information to help us build the enrollment projections. We build the enrollment projections at the elementary campus level first. So we go and look at every elementary campus. We look at how many homes are under construction. We look at how many lots. We look at the multifamily picture. And then we build those projections elementary by elementary. And then we migrate up to the secondary schools, and we feed the feeder patterns into those secondary schools to help build the projections. Well, the vacant developed lots help guide us for the elementary projections for the next 2 years, because we know this is where you're going to be building the most new homes. We look at the futures to help us with beyond 2 years, because we know it'll take at least 2 years to deliver some of these futures. And then we also look at areas where you have vacant land and where there'll be some infill. We've been watching the Flower Mound comprehensive land use plan changes, so there's some potential changes because of those land use changes that could change some of the dynamic in the western portion of your school district. So as that becomes more defined and as developers begin to bring new projects, but the bottom line is the potential it could be some slightly higher dense single family and some overall changes to the comprehensive plan, which could enable some areas to see some additional single family. Now, we break down the housing by the elementary zone, as I mentioned, to help us to build the projections. This is color-coded with the yellow for the #1 area for housing, and then the green is the second, and that salmon-colored is the third. So that kind of gives you just a chart of where we see the most single-family activity based on annual starts. Castle Hills is #1, Rockbrook #2, and Coyote Ridge is #3. I also mentioned briefly multifamily is picking up, and just here's a zoomed-in area of the Kamey, Peters Colony zone, because we're seeing tremendous multifamily and some single-family development in that area. Just kind of touch on the highlights. The Islands is ultimately 4,107 multifamily units in that part of the Kamey school. Just to the Bridges has 806 futures, and the Somerset Waters in the Peters zone has 580, and those green boxes are multifamily projects, and those blue boxes are single-family projects. So definitely in that area, there's going to be significant development. Now, this multifamily is initially going to have low yields, but even low yields, when you have that many, can still add students and put some pressure on those schools in that area. What we've learned from working with all of the clients that we work with, multifamily takes about 25 to 30 years before it can change. So what initially comes out as a low-yielding multifamily 20 to 30 years from now can change and become a higher-yielding product. So you've got a little bit of time before you see some significant numbers from the multifamily, but over time it could present some challenges. Now here's just a map of your existing, and I just wanted to kind of paint the picture. I just came from Richardson ISD just a few minutes ago. They have over 200 apartment complexes, and half of their student population lives in multifamily today. That wasn't the case 20 years ago, but today half their population lives in multifamily. Right now, what we're tracking is roughly 103 complexes, which accounts for 29,000 units, and you've got 4,200 elementary students in those units, 1,500 middle school students, 1,800 high school students, for a total of about 7,522, and the average yield right now is 0.25 across all of your units. A high-yielding multifamily or a Section 8 or an affordable apartment complex can generate between 0.8 and 1 student per unit. That's a affordable complex. Your luxury lifestyle apartments generally generate less than 0.1 student per unit. So that's a huge difference in the yields. But over time, it's something that we watch very closely because of the mobility that's going on in the multifamily. And so we watch that and track it closely. Now to get to the good stuff. Your enrollment history. We like to look at the enrollment history to give us an idea of where the largest populations are in your school district. The yellow box is the largest grade. The green box is the second largest grade. We like to track the two largest grades because it's not uncommon for the ninth grade to be the largest grade. This happens at virtually all school districts in the state of Texas, and it's a result of those freshmen that don't quite get enough credits to become sophomores, and they pin up just a little bit. They pin up for usually one semester. So one semester they pin up there, and then by the spring semester they get that credit, and then they become sophomores. But that phenomenon is what causes that ninth grade class to be a little bigger than the sophomore class. But when I look at your cohorts, you're very strong high school cohorts. So your high school is maintaining those students very, very nicely. To give you an example, a lot of them, the high school ninth grade cohort will be like 1.1, and the ninth grade would be 0.9. Well, here your difference between your ninth and 10th grade is only like less than 3%. So it's tracking very well. Now when we build our projections, we use a cohort model to help us with the high school grades. So we're going to use your cohort patterns at the high school grades. We roll the students up, and then we apply the growth factors for new housing and for any other areas that we're regenerating. And so then we use that to build the projections. Now, this year, your growth was about 0.5%. You grew 264. We are increasing your growth rate to almost 0.7%, which would be 354 students for next year. So this surge in the housing market is what's caused us to lift up the projection this year. Now, you'll see it start to trail off. Now, the reason it's trailing off is you've got large class sizes that are in your secondary grades. So those large class sizes are starting to work their way through. That's what's going to put downward pressure on your enrollment growth in the year 2017. So that reason it drops to 73 students in the year 2017 is when those large classes start exiting. But all in all, this is still you're still seeing significant growth in your campuses. Now here's the projections at the campus level. This is a 5-year look. I encourage districts to look primarily at 5 years. When you get beyond 5 years, so many things can change. The economy, housing, employment, and so really kind of focus in on the 5 years. And what you'll notice is you've got some parts of your district that are growing, but you also have some districts that are maturing. They're not really losing kids, it's just that they're graduating larger numbers than what's coming in. A prime example of that would be Bridlewood. Bridlewood is one of those areas that it's graduating larger elementary grades than what's been coming in. And so we don't expect that to continue to drop. It's going to hit a point to where it'll start to recover or regenerate. But that Bridlewood area is an area that folks like to stay in. And so it's that's one area that's kind of dropping off. And then you've got other areas that are growing very strongly. The Kamey zone is right at 500, and it's going to 560. And then you've got Hicks Elementary, which is at 632, and it's getting to 700 in 5 years. And then Independence Elementary, it's at 722, and it's getting to 979 in 5 years. When we go to the next page at elementaries, Lewisville Elementary gets to over 900 in 5 years. And then Peters Colony, that's over where the significant multifamily and the single family is picking up, 818 to 920. And then you've got Rockbrook Elementary at 714, getting to 855. Southridge gets to about 750 in 3 years. And then Wellington at 892, and it gets to 985. And I just wanted to briefly hit on the highlights. And as was mentioned earlier, we'll be back to help in a work session to talk in more detail about these projections. We also put this in our GIS mapping software. So our mapping software allows us to look specifically at the locations of where the kids live and your attendance boundaries, and we can then do modeling of what do we do with the changes that are occurring. At the middle school level, Arbor Creek is getting to about 986, and then Durham Middle School is going from 763 to 984. Griffin gets to 867 in 5 years, and then Lakeview gets to 850, and McCamey drops off a little bit, so that's one that's kind of dropping off a little, and Shadow Ridge potentially drops off a little bit as well. At the high school level, now we just built in the opening of the 2 ninth grade centers for next year, and I wasn't sure what the capacities were, but you can see the impact that those ninth grade centers are going to have on Flower Mound High School and on Hebron High School. Your high school enrollment is currently at about 15,666, and in 5 years you can see it's getting to 16,322. So for the next 2 years, there's still some strong growth at the high school. That's those large middle school grades that are coming, but then you get a little bit of a break as those start to graduate, and that's why the high school drops off, is because we're starting to graduate some a little bit larger classes. I would say this, I have the most confidence in the high school projections because I have so much leading information driving up into there. Areas where I have the most uncertainty would be kindergarten. Kindergarten enrollment is a little bit of a challenge. We used to use birth rates to help us with, but now we're so mobile and there's so much mobility, the birth rates aren't as good of an indicator for kindergarten enrollment. And I'll go back and answer any questions, but just to summarize, the district has areas that are experiencing enrollment decline, but it also has areas that the enrollment is still growing. New home construction has outpaced last year's totals in just 9 months. Apartment development is also strong with several thousand units in development. You've also got it right on 35. There's significant apartments going on there. We use a quarterly approach so that we can watch the economy, the housing market, and population trends so that we can react quickly. We don't necessarily wait a year. If we see a significant change, then we model that change immediately. The district will likely see steady growth as new developments are delivered. The enrollment for 2014-15 is expected to be slightly over 53,000 students. In the next 5 years, the Lewisville School District can expect to grow by about 1,114 students and 2,534 students by the year 2023, which would put the district's enrollment just over 55,000 students. Be happy to answer any questions.
I just have one question. Thank you. This is very thorough and very detailed report. I really appreciate it. I just had a question in regards to the Shadow Ridge area. With that growth and development going on in the lakeside area, why the decline in the numbers?
I'll have to get back and respond to that. At the middle school, it will depend upon the feeders that are feeding into that, so I'll go back and look at the feeders that are feeding into Shadow Ridge Middle School.
McDaniel?
You have the Lewisville feeder pattern of continuing to grow, seemingly more so than any other area. Is that because of the aging of the housing stock and the aging of the multifamily, or what is the reason that? Because most of that area is landlocked.
Yeah, the high schools are driven by the middle school feeders that are coming up into Lewisville High School. So it'll be Lewisville High School is the one you referred to.
No, I'm talking about the feeder schools. Your Central Elementary, your Lewisville Elementary, Rockbrook.
Mr. Templeton, is it not the reason for that is because of the density changes and continued density in the apartment complexes in the older Lewisville areas? I think what lends to that, Mr. McDaniel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Lewisville High School is going from 1817 to 2087. Just because of those larger numbers that are at those middle schools, what's there right now, that's what's driving it up, just the 200 kids, which really doesn't take much to grow at 200 kids in 5 years. So it is those concentration of middle school students that are already there in the Lewisville. Probably if we looked out beyond 5 years, the Lewisville High School would start to level back off. So it's just there that's in the middle schools right now that are going to be growing up into the Lewisville High School.
Like those areas where you're seeing that big growth,
like Rockbrook and whatnot, that is in the area of Lewisville that's heavily apartments, and they just keep adding.
Just driving by there, you can see all the apartments that are coming in. Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And we'll be seeing you in March.
Yes.
More questions, yes.
Okay, moving on to discussion items, financial reports. Dr. Burnett?
You have in this, your agenda packet, the financial reports through the end of November. And for the school district's calendar, this represents the first quarter of our operations. So that would be approximately 25% of our budget year. And if you look at the numbers, we're tracking pretty close to that percentage. You also have, along with the other financial reports, the bond report, you also have our quarterly investment report, which gives you the breakdown of those investments as through the first quarter.
Anybody have any questions?
I just had a quick question because I was in a hurry and I'm sorry I didn't study it real close. What is our budget and our year-to-date expense for all of our communications department?
I'm sorry, would you repeat your question?
What is the budget that we had set for our communications department and our year-to-date spent?
We don't have the financial report in this financial report to that detail.
So it wasn't me overlooking it.
We present it by functions and by totals. We can certainly get that information for you.
Okay. Oh, there's.
Any other questions? Okay.
Seeing none, moving on to the updated construction projects. Dr. Burnett?
Well, I'd like to invite Mr. Perry to come forward and give you a brief update on some of our construction projects.
Thank you, Dr. Burnett. Good evening. We had a very productive holiday break. We could get right to the point and talk about our aquatic center, if that's okay with everybody. We were able to complete the remediation of the work that was going on there at the pool. The contractor is currently backfilling the granular fill back around the walls, and we're getting ourselves back on track. Contractor is anticipating pouring the pool deck towards the end of this month or the first week of February. I'll be very honest with you, that's really good news. That's ahead of schedule of where I thought we would be with this issue. So I was very pleased to see the amount of work we were able to accomplish over the holiday break. I have Jonathan Aldis with SHW Group if we'd like to talk about the technical details of the fix as we went through that over the holiday break. We'd be glad to talk about concrete and strength of concrete and water content of concrete. It's exciting for us. It's not necessarily that exciting for others, but we were very productive down there. If there's no questions on the pool and the progress we're making there, I'll go on to our 9th grade campuses. Progress continues on our 9th grade campuses. As you've driven by, you continue to see structural steel is going up. If you've been by our arenas, you see the exterior walls are going up on our arenas. We have Satterfield and Ponticus with us tonight. We continue to meet with leadership staff and Dr. Waddell monthly with Satterfield and Ponticus, and they continue to reassure us that they will be ready for kids come this August. Again, they're in the audience tonight. If you'd like to hear their reassurance, we'd be glad to have them come up and give you that.
Just am curious what the delay has been with those campuses, because originally wasn't it June that we were looking at being able to have those buildings, and now we're looking at August. I'm just curious what's causing the delays for 2 months.
Yeah, fair question, Mrs. Duke. Let me let Satterfield Ponticus come up and address that. I'll have Vice President Mel Rasmussen will come up and address some of those issues.
Good evening. Well, primarily, the easiest thing to go back to is we've had some weather delays. And particularly from October, November, and December, particularly in December with the ice and the cold weather, it's really limited our ability to get the structures out of the ground. So we feel like that we've come to a place now with the most of the foundations in and the structures coming up that we're going to be able to minimize the impacts caused by that.
So the weather's caused 3 months delay?
It's not 3 months, but it's a good 6 or 7 weeks.
And then what is our contract, Michael? What date was promised in the contract?
Mrs. Latham, the contract had several different milestone dates in it. June 1st was the date that was listed in the contract for the ninth grade campuses. The arenas would open at a separate time. Some of the renovations opened at different times in the contract. So there were interim milestones, but the completion of the ninth grade campuses was June 1st.
And if it's not going to be till August 1st, what do we get in return?
We're looking at the contractor for that. We have damages in our contract. We'll be looking at the contractor for those. Now, if we're going to look at that, we will look at the ice, and if there's legitimate reasons that they're behind, then we'll take a look at that. But we do have damages in our contract.
Okay.
So let me add one last one, if I could, here that was on your discussion item, which is the rebuild of Cami. That project is continuing to make great progress. We've started drilling piers out there. Foundation work is ongoing. We, again, had a very productive holiday break out there. We were able to tear down a small portion of the building that was necessary to facilitate the construction of the new building. Be glad to go back and answer any questions that you might have over any of the items that we discussed.
I don't see any, so thank you very much, sir. Moving on to discuss item number 3, proposed regulatory change for electricity in Texas. Dr. Burnett.
This is an item that we presented to you as information in last month, and you have much of the similar information. You do have the draft of a proposed resolution should the board wish to move forward on that and take any action on that.
Maybe you could give a little background on exactly why we're needing to take action or proposed action on our electricity, specifically here in the district?
And the short answer is the Public Utility Commission in Texas is considering a proposal to change the way they structure electricity markets in Texas, and going from what's now an energy market where you buy the commodity straight from providers to a capacity market where the energy generation companies can charge based on their capacity to generate, which we believe and our advisors tell us that change will allow or will cause the price of electricity to go up. And should that happen, we're a major consumer of electricity, some 81 million kilowatts a year, and even a small increase in the price of electricity will impact our budget. So we're just simply suggesting that we reinforce those voices that say the state should keep an energy market, and further reinforce those voices that say they should keep the price of electricity at least stable to public schools, or in the alternative, increase funding to public schools so that we can deal with whatever happens to the markets.
Dr. Burnett, I just have a quick question. What plans or what does the district have in place for the campuses and the administrative building being good stewards of electricity in place?
We have an energy management system. We have 4 engineers on staff that monitor our electricity consumption through a contract with Aramark, and they provide us reports about energy periodically.
Can you remind us again, or do you know when they'll be making decisions about this?
I don't have that information.
I do know that the Dallas Morning News had an editorial on this about 3 weeks ago, and they came out against the proposal for the same reasons that Dr. Burnett just brought up.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, thank you, sir. Moving on to Serenity High School agreement. Dr. Rogers.
Ms. Kyer, Board, as mentioned last month, we would recommend entering into an agreement with Serenity High School. It's an option for students who are coming from recognized drug treatment programs to have a sober, safe environment and continue to work on their high school credits. We would pay $85 per day for that service. The distance is an issue. I appreciate the speaker's comments. As a parent who's dealt with some of the same issues, I can assure you that we will continue to look at other options. This is just step one.
Okay, anybody have any questions or concerns regarding that? Yes, Ms. Vaughn.
I was just curious, so does Lewisville get the money for the attendance? Or, so we get the money for the attendance and then we pay them for a daily fee? Okay, I was just curious.
Yes, ma'am. It's sort of the same thing as what we do for JJAP. We have to pay for students that go up to JJ. It's really pretty close to a break-even deal.
There's no transportation involved in this, is that correct?
No,
Provided
sir.
by the district?
No, sir. No transportation will be provided. It would be the parent's responsibility.
Any other questions or concerns? Okay. Moving on to the last discussion item, which is the TASB Board Policy Update number 98. Dr. Haynes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No information has changed, and there have been no recommendations from administration to alter or change any of the recommendations as set forth.
Anybody have any questions regarding this? Ms. Latham?
I would like to see. No, I don't. I'll email him later.
Okay, we still have one more month, so. Okay, moving on to the action portion of our business meeting. I need a motion to consider approval of House Bill 5, graduation plans. The motion, Ms. Duke. Second, Ms. Vaughn. Ms. Duke, would you like to speak to your motion? No? Okay, just asking. Yeah. Anybody else want to make any comments, concerns, questions? Okay, Ms. Cox.
I just have some questions in regards to some of the comments that have been made. And I'd like to know, in regards to some of the comments that were made by the social studies teachers in regards to the end-of-course exams and how that would be affected in the social studies aspect. Some comments were made that it would be given in the 11th grade. So I'm just curious how the end-of-course exams will be given with all this.
Thank you for asking. The course, when the student completes the course, or at whatever time period that is, then the student is able to take that EOC at that time. So if a student took this course as a sophomore, that's when he or she would take the EOC. If it was in the junior year, then they would take the EOC at the end of the course in their junior year.
I'm sorry, we finished?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead and finish.
My other question was on the electives. How will the electives be decided to be, substantial? We definitely want quality of education. So how will the increase in the electives that are being offered, who will be making those decisions of what additional electives will be offered to our students?
We have a wide variety of courses already prepared and in use. And so we have the opportunity if, for instance, as we visited with social studies teachers, they talked about doing some, I think we called them boutique courses, that would be specifically interesting for students who were passionate about social studies. But most of the courses that we would offer are courses that we already have. And so we're not adding a great number of courses other than requests.
And one is some comments were also made regarding that it could possibly require an additional credit if the additional social studies geography were added. I'm just curious if that would be the case, if there would be an additional credit that would be mandated.
At this point, and we've heard it back and forth, but right now what we know is that no, it would not require an extra credit. You're welcome.
Mr. McDaniel?
What would be the negative impact of maintaining the 4 social studies?
The biggest impact has to do with narrowing the flexibility that our students would have. One of the reasons that we have participated in the consortium work is because we believe that the courses as structured currently were too confining for our students, that our students were tracked through a set of courses that they may or may not be interested in, and there are other courses that we had that they would possibly have loved to take, but they did not have an opportunity to take them. And so really it's about the flexibility.
So we're impacting one elective course, is what we're saying, by if we kept the 4 social studies.
Could you say that again in
Means
another way?
it would impact the number of elective courses
Yes.
they could take if we maintain.
Yes, and when I say an elective course, they may want to take another math course, or another English course, or another, it's not just, it can be core content courses.
Dr. Rogers, would you clarify what we've heard from TEA regarding this, the question that got asked, and our communication with them, and also with State Board of Education member Pat Hardy?
Yes, sir. Initially, probably 2 weeks before the break, Commissioner Williams was at Regional 11, and he misspoke and said that, if districts change the rule as far as the number of credits are varied and added the 4th social studies course, that we would have to increase the number of credits to graduate. We were in contact, Ms. Ladohoff, with Pat Hardy, state board member, numerous times. We actually finally got clarification last week from TEA. I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday, because we were there when he said that, some of us, but we wanted to make verification. The commissioner misspoke, so we don't have to increase the number of credits. But to reemphasize what Dr. Ruddell said, if you make the decision to require something different than the state plan, I think it's important to understand the endorsements that students are going to be required to have beginning next year as freshmen. And a lot of those endorsements are particular fields of study that then they're going to want to take more science or math if they're STEM endorsement, or they're going to want to take more career tech classes if that's the endorsement that they choose. So that's where I think the limitation occurs according to what plan is adopted.
But what then if we had an opportunity for those students that wanted to go for the endorsement to opt out of that, as opposed to everybody else choosing to opt in.
And I have Ms. Ladahoff, who is the resident expert on House Bill 5. We've lived House Bill 5 since July, I think. Beginning with next year's freshmen, they don't have an option to opt in or out of the endorsements in the House Bill 5 graduation plan. They have three choices: either foundation plan, which is similar to our minimum plan, which they can't opt into that until they're juniors. So we certainly hope that there aren't many of our students that will opt into the foundation. Then the foundation with endorsements and the foundation with distinguished levels of achievement. So those are very rigorous courses and plans, but of course there are some variances as far as what student choice is.
I guess my question is, though, is if we just maintain that as part of the curriculum, but allowed them, when they needed to opt out, that we would give them that and be fairly liberal about it. That way, more of the students are getting that world geography, world history, and which I do think is important. But there's still an option for those students that want to take a different path to opt out and say, I would choose not to because of this, and we give them that flexibility. And that way we just don't scrub a course that I believe most of us think is important.
And Mr. McDaniel, I think, first off, of course, we're sort of in uncharted territory, so we really don't know what, but there's no doubt that in my opinion, and that's sort of bad to say, but in my opinion, there's no doubt that a lot of students, college-bound students, are still going to take both, because they're going to take human geography AP as freshmen, because not only do they want the AP course, but they also want the GPA weight. They're going to take world history AP as sophomores because they want the AP course and the GPA weighted course. So we don't really know big picture how it's going to affect, but the intent, once again, was to give all students the flexibility, and that was the intent of the legislature. So.
But let me see if I understand what you're saying, Mike. It's similar to when our children go to college and they decide they're sophomores or juniors. Oh, you can't? Sorry, I'm usually really loud. Similar to when our kids go to college in their sophomore, junior year, they decide they want to change what they're majoring in. So if Johnny goes in on the distinguished A plan, can he change courses to the distinguished B plan and not be penalized and still be able to take world geography or world history?
Absolutely. They can change their endorsements, the ones that they choose, and their counselors sit down with them and track this plan out, but they can change that endorsement level. There's 5 endorsements, and they can change it. They just, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Ladahoff, but I think they'd have to meet with their counselor and have parents sign off to change it.
And if we did require speech, we would have to add a credit, or we would not have to add a credit?
No, ma'am. Initially, even with the state board plan, when they began discussing this in November, they were talking about 22.5 credits for the foundation, and the half credit that they were adding to the 22 was speech. But we would not have to add credits to the graduation plan. It just removes some of the flexibility for students. If you start filling in those options that students have with world geo or world history or a half credit of speech, then you've taken away some of their options.
And Dr. Waddell, is there someone here that can explain to us why the administration feels we don't need to require speech? Because I see both sides of the coin. I see where they're getting speaking opportunities in presenting their presentations and whatnot, but that's also a content speech and not a communications learned skill.
I think it just comes down to this, that in Texas, in our very recent past, there's been a movement to provide more flexibility for students because the state has been regulating what students take and increasing that regulation over the last 30 years, taking flexibility away from students and taking it away from districts. Also, with the rise of really the change in what career and technology education has become, a much more sophisticated area of study, and with students wanting to pursue that, with the course requirements that Texas had, it put a lot of pressure on kids to do that. And the 4x4 that we've been with for a number of years now precluded a lot of kids who wanted to take things like career and technology. I'm just using career and technology as an example, but it's a major part of this argument. They couldn't take it. They didn't have the room because everything was prescribed for them. And all this just kind of burst in the last legislative session with a large number of bills that you're aware of that would provide more choice for school districts, for families, and for kids. And so that's what House Bill 5 provides. It's not a perfect bill. I don't know if you get one, but what it's done, and I was asked this question today by a reporter, and I pointed at the intent of the state is to provide more flexibility, and so to do that, you've got to give up on something, and if some courses as requirements will have to be removed. It doesn't matter if it's speech or world history or algebra 2 or anything else. If you're going to allow more flexibility for students in deciding what they want to study, then you've got to quit requiring some subjects. Otherwise, there is no flexibility. And it really doesn't matter whether that requirement is at the state level or the local level. Whoever's making those requirements limits the flexibility of the student, limits the choice of the student, and the choice of the family. So when the bill was passed, and both Senator Patrick and Representative Aycock were passionate about this, and the legislature, I don't remember if it was unanimous, but it was close to unanimous, passed the bill. This is something TAMSA worked extraordinarily hard to get passed, and they wanted that flexibility, and they put a lot of pressure on the legislature to get it. So when the State Board of Education debated the rules regarding this, then these particular courses came up. And it's not that I haven't heard anyone say that speech isn't important, or world history isn't important, or world geography isn't important. With these paths that are, these new graduation pathways that are provided for, these endorsements in House Bill 5, what they say is if you're interested in studying as you move through, like you mentioned college, just like college, your freshman year, you take survey classes. And you probably can't wait until you can get out of those and start your junior and senior year taking the classes that you really want to focus on. And that's similar, it's not identical, but it's similar to what's happening with House Bill 5. So it allows for students to say, I'm interested in humanities, so I want the ability to take more humanities classes, or I'm interested in science, technology, and math. I want to focus on that, rather than having a 4x4 required on everything, for everybody, as it has been. I'm interested in career and technology education, so you have some flexibility to pursue that. That's all it's saying. There's no prejudice to a course. It's just that there's no way to provide flexibility for students without removing some classes as requirements for everybody. That's all this is. I understand all the arguments that are being made, and they're great arguments. And, we've heard the teachers who've stepped up here, and there's a reason why they teach the way they. I'm particularly, speech teachers and history teachers, I expect them to speak well and make great arguments, and they did. But this is what the law allowed, and it's what the State Board of Education allowed when they worked on their rules. And we formed a committee that we left open to the entire district. We didn't decide how many people were going to be on that committee. We said, we're going to talk about House Bill 5, and if you want to have a voice on that, then join the committee. And people from across the district did. And if they had said, we don't want to lose these courses as requirements, we want to keep them, we want to make them requirements for the kids, because we think that's what it takes to have a quality, rigorous, world-class education, it's probably what we'd have brought to you. But that's not what they said. And though we value these classes, and we're still offering these classes, we do also value the element of choice and flexibility. And there has to be a compromise somewhere. And we believe that the compromise we brought to you is what's called for by law, what was supported by the State Board of Education, what was supported by the community committee, and yet it still provides those options that our kids can take any of these classes they want to. And that's their choice and their family's choice whether they want to do that or not.
I don't disagree with the thing that I've heard, but my only question comes down to, okay, let's give them the flexibility. Let's allow them to choose these other paths. And it will make it a very simple opt-out. I don't want to take speech, I want to take something else. I don't want to take world geography. And all it takes is, what are you going to do instead? And we don't have to be judge and jury of that, but it makes the student, if they don't have a plan, instead of opting into something that we feel is important to them, they just go in and say, I want to opt out. We still have the 4x4 requirement, and if they have another path they want to take, go get them, Johnny. You can do that. All you have to do is go to your counselor and say, I choose to do something different, and this is what I'm going to do. Instead of just carte blanche saying, we're tossing it out, and if somebody wants to come in and take it as elective, it's more of us saying it's still important to us. These things are important to your future. They're important to all of us. And unless you choose to go a different direction, this is still our belief system, and that these courses are important.
That's an interesting idea, Mr. McDaniel. My thoughts on that are that we have 52,000 kids, and if you make it a requirement, there's a strong chance that there's some who won't realize they have that choice unless someone specifically tells them that, so they're not going to know they can opt out. Secondly, by doing it the other way, the way that's in the proposal, it causes students and their families to be more responsible with things that they choose to study. They have to actually think about it rather than say, well, I don't think I want to do that. They can plan their own direction. So that I don't know. Perhaps Dr. Rogers has another thought on that.
Well, lots of thoughts, but the committee came to consensus, and the consensus as far as speech, which was then presented to the board, was not to continue to mandate or require speech. And I'll ask our resident counselor. I think it's a interesting idea. I certainly believe in opting in some situations. I'm trying to think through the logistics of how counselors keep up with that. Counselors already will have to, most of our students that are currently 9th, 10th, and 11th graders will stay in the current system. They'll stay on the recommended or DAP program for the next 3 years. So counselors already are going to have to juggle the current system with next year's freshmen and anyone else that opts into the new foundation program, those two systems, and then the opt-in mandate poses an interesting question. I don't know, Ms. Ladehoff, I would see that as more difficult to keep up with, but I'm not the expert, so on that.
Honestly, I'm not even sure how that would work in our policy as far as to put in, you can do this or this, unless we created a fourth graduation plan. And as Dr. Rogers said, the counselors right now are going to have to juggle 5 endorsements, and within those 5 endorsements, a CTE pathway and a non-CTE pathway. So effectively 9 graduation plans just with the endorsement area, then the DLA, then the foundation by itself, and then the current 3 graduation plans that we have. So a current 9th and 10th and 11th grade student would be could really have 15 options of graduation, because any student can opt in to those new graduation plans beginning next year. So I'm not sure how that looks when you say you can take it or not take it, because they would make that decision as a freshman or a sophomore, because that's when those courses are offered. So is that any different than telling them up front that it's not required and you can take it? Some of the endorsements do require for social studies, and some of them require AP courses in every foundation area. So I do believe that some of those numbers will stay up. But again, I'm not sure how that will look as far as trying to track 2 separate plans. You don't really have to take it if you don't want to. Does that make sense? Like right now, everybody has to take 4 social studies. If we're giving them the option and it's the same plan, how does that look?
Well, but don't you still have to have a credit from that general area?
No, not for all the endorsements. For the arts and humanities, you would have to have 4 social studies, but they don't delineate that it has to be world geography and world history. It can be psychology, sociology, world studies, special topics in social studies. So they don't specifically say you have to have both those social studies. They leave it open for the student to choose which social studies they would like to select.
Okay, Ms. Sheffield.
Thank you. I'll just say I fully support the recommendations that are coming forward. I'm a big advocate of House Bill 5 and for the flexibility that it offers our families and students. I honestly, and I just don't know that we're going to see a decrease in those social studies classes that are being taken. And I'll take one campus that I have experience with at Hebron High School, and they have a very robust social studies department. And I think that those kids who have interest in going to college are going to continue to cycle through those same classes, because they understand and they know that the quality of education they get from those teachers, they know that it prepares them well for their future. I don't think that and I'm sure that that's happening at all of our other high school campuses. I don't know that we're going to see a drop-off in kids taking world geography and world history. And I have a child who's going to take a social studies class as an elective because of the teacher, because she knows that she also knows she's going to get weight for it, but she also knows that she's going to get really good instruction, and it's going to prepare her for that next step. What I hope, and I know this does kind of put a probably added burden on our counseling staff, is that for many of our families, they don't have parents who might have that, who aren't maybe watching those course selections as closely. And I think that's where we have to be careful as a district, and just making sure that our counselors are in tune to the fact that, we're not going to be tracking students, that we're going to say, oh no, you can't do that class, that we're very, that we, have that guiding force in our counseling staff, particularly and it's in all of our schools, but in some areas, that's going to be a really important function, I think. I don't know, I think I kind of see what you're saying, but in my opinion, I almost see it as rather, we recommend these courses. We recommend you take world geography or AP human geography and world history, but we're not going to require it, because then that strips away the
the flexibility that we want. I don't want Austin in my business or Washington in my business telling me what's best for my kids. And I think at different campuses we have classes that kids would love to take, but they don't have those opportunities in the current plan we have now. And in terms of speech, I find great value in speech. And I think it needs to be embedded early on, and I think delivery is, Mr. Cohn spoke to delivery. I think that's the key element. But I can almost see a more robust speech class being offered in perhaps even to upperclassmen, or as we talk about, interviewing skills, that the way we tailor those classes become more tailored to the needs of our kids. Instead of let's talk about now we're going to learn how to write to give a how-to speech or whatever. So that's my 2 cents.
Ms. Vaughn?
For those of you who know me, that was a big exercise in patience to have to not talk that long. I did well, huh? I agree with Mrs. Sheffield and what she has commented on. I just have a few notes, so let me see if I can gather my thoughts here. I am one who doesn't mind public speaking. Give me a microphone anytime, but I know there are a lot of kids out there that are not like that, and I agree. Maybe we need to start earlier, because we had a mom tonight say her first grader was doing a presentation. Maybe, like you said, Mrs. Sheffield, tailoring it differently for upperclassmen or younger. But I do want to stress there are handprints and pictures drawn by kids in this room that definitely don't have parents at home that are going to guide them. And we had a comment tonight about that. And it's our duty to make sure that they understand. So I don't know what it takes, and I know we don't have funds from Austin to help with, more counselors, but we really need to make sure that they understand the options. I have a son who loves history. He's going to take 2 history classes next semester, which he's so excited about. Well, not everybody's like that, and I'm thrilled that he likes classes. But I'm a business major, not a curriculum expert by any means, but I'm thinking maybe we just need to market or brand something, to the student. I don't know necessarily what that means, but in my mind, I'm seeing an app. Yeah, in my mind, I'm seeing that there might be that disconnect there. And we have a lot of overachieving kids, obviously, but we also have a lot of kids that need to be nurtured, yes, thank you, and made sure that they understand. The language issue, for one thing. So I don't know. I'm sorry to look at you when I say that, and you don't have to answer. I'm just saying that's a lot for counselors, because I know that you guys are overwhelmed already in your departments. So.
Well, and the counselors will always guide the students according to their interest. And so we start with the 6th grade year where they do career cruising, and that is tied to the career clusters and different career fields, and that ties into what do you do after high school, which ties into a college possibly or a training, and then that ties into what do I have to get into that college. So if it takes for social studies, and because you're going this route, then that's what the counselor will advise them to do. But I think one of the pieces of the flexibility, especially with our athletes, we have about 35% of our high school students that participate in athletics. That takes up 8 of their credits already. And they have to have 4 credits for an endorsement. And if they change their endorsement, that could change the path that they're on for the endorsement. And then if we take up one of their elective credits, then that really, truly, it's not an elective if we require it. It becomes a requirement instead of a student elective. So my concern is just for the flexibility as well, because we don't know how this is going to look rolling out with students selecting an endorsement and switching an endorsement. So that's my concern for the students, is the flexibility. And that could also apply with our arts and humanities kids. They'll get an endorsement through their band, but if they want to be STEM related and arts and humanities, then that's going to change, because they're going to have those additional credits for that STEM endorsement, even though they already have that band, which would be the arts and humanities.
I completely support the flexibility too. I just don't want us to forget, which I know we won't, because we're an awesome district, but in our strategic design, it's every child, and learning individually and unique, and they learn at their own pace and all of that. And we do a great job on that. I just, we've had some great comments tonight and comments, in the weeks ahead, previous from parents and staff. And I just think we could be creative, Let's ask students, how do we combine a class together, or how do we make speech into something else? So I appreciate it.
There are options for that. I mean, there's a combined possible world history and world geography class that's being developed that's not out yet. There's also a speech class called professional communications that our speech teachers can teach that can count as in the endorsement areas, in all of the endorsement areas on the CTE pathways. So one of the things that as a high school counselor and as a master scheduler at Marcus High School that I did notice is that our elective teachers have always had to market their courses. If your course doesn't make, you don't have a job. So that's one of the things we posed to our social studies is to market their courses. And so they're going to have to market, if we go that route, they're going to have to market their courses to entice students to take their courses. So that's a piece of the marketing piece.
Ms. Vaughn, and Dr. Riddell mentioned this earlier too, is we met with some social studies teacher reps. There was probably 20 of us that met. And we talked about the need for the creation of social studies electives. We can create courses, that are social studies based that are electives, so kids opt into those courses. So, and the other thing I want to make clear to yours and Ms. Sheffield's comments were, Ms. Ladehoff and I have had several. Our counselors are not going to be out there suggesting off the top of their head, hey, drop world history, drop world geo. I mean, we're going to continue to make those recommendations to students and to their parents to take those courses if it fits in their field of interest or in their endorsement. We want them in those courses because they're good courses. It's just that we still want the flexibility when kids need it.
Has everybody spoken? Okay, Ms. Cox.
Sorry. It's okay. I just want to make a comment. I made some little notes here. I too love the opportunity to have flexibility. As a parent, it's a great opportunity to have flexibility for my kids. But I think Mr. Cohn said it very well, that at what cost? I think that's the key. To me, people move here to come to this district because we have high standards for our kids, and we want our kids to receive the best education possible and the best opportunities possible through this district. And I think that's what's key, is that we provide our kids the opportunities to receive that education and uphold this district to the high standards that we have held them to.
Ms. Sheffield?
Yes, this is just actually about the endorsements. We haven't fleshed all that out for each of those endorsements, have we? Or have we already decided what courses are going to go in those, or like for the distinguished plan and all that, or is that still a work in progress?
Part of that is still a work in progress. The districts will define what's considered an advanced course, but then the state defines what's considered an advanced CTE course. So if they're going a CTE pathway, they have to take 2 courses in one particular endorsement area. An endorsement area, a cluster. 2 courses in a cluster, 1 advanced CTE course, and then 1 course in the cluster that they choose to get their endorsement in. It's very complicated. So that has not been fleshed out. Now, we do have courses that are available in all 16 federal clusters, 15 of the 16 clusters, which means we can offer all 5 endorsement areas. And we do have a number of courses that are considered coherent pathways. So we do have a working model of coherent pathways. So a student would you can take this, and this, or you can go this route. So there's a different combination. For example, if I were going to go business and finance, there's a combination. I can go in this area, or I can go this direction, law and public safety. There's a lot of different ways to do that. But we do already have some draft coherent sequences set up in the CTE pathways, and it's pretty much defined under the non-CTE pathways by the state.
And will some of those have, will we put prerequisites on some of those history classes, or is it will we be allowing a freshman to take any, like, U.S. history their freshman year, or would we have, is there, will we have any kind of order?
Well, They would take, right now, they would take either world geography or world history their freshman year.
Okay.
Then they could have a gap their sophomore year and take U.S. history, or they could take U.S. history. We haven't defined that as a district, actually. So that is something that we could define if we say you still need to wait till your junior year, and then they could take a different elective during their sophomore year.
But right now, we're still looking at U.S. history as a junior level class.
It's not been defined yet. That's a question that we would have to. Right now,
Right,
it
but
is
right
a junior
now,
class.
it's-
Yes.
Right, but that's what we're saying is that it's still in flux. We don't.
Yes.
We haven't. Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Tukey, you're all set? Everybody else has spoken. Coming, excuse me, from a parent, which I was with 3 children, all totally different. What we're looking for at House Bill 5 right now, what is recommended by the administration, is something that I would support. I do support. Simple fact that I can see with my 3 different children how this could affect them and how strengthen what they want to do. I have one going in the medical field, one wanting to probably blow things up, which I'm worried about a little bit. And then my daughter, who is Air Force ROTC cadet and environmental engineer, and also does some other stuff. But there's 3 totally different students, 3 totally different career paths. So I wish that they were in middle school right now so that they could enjoy the different options that they would have now. So that's all. And thank you for the questions. Really appreciate the in-depth questions from everybody tonight. This isn't something that we're taking lightly and then we're just going to pass quickly. We've had 3 months, well, 2 months to look through it because it was kind of 2.5. Okay. So moving forward, is everybody all set on their questions, concerns? Are we ready for a vote? Ms. Sheffield, do you have one more?
Can you tell us again how the changes in the graduation plan impact our sophomores, juniors, and seniors?
Currently, our students that are current freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, they have an option to select the new graduation plan beginning with next year. So they, in the fall, really honestly it would be in the spring when they do their course selections, but the legislature says in the 14-15 school year. They're selecting their classes in the spring, it would be for that time. So if a student, and the new lowest plan requires 2 years of a foreign language or computer programming for all students. So if a student was on the minimum plan, they would have to go back and pick up those 2 foreign language credits, but then they can opt in. They would still have to, like if it's a senior, a rising senior, we would have to look and see where do you have that endorsement credits. So they can opt in, but we'd have to see do you have really what it takes to be able to go into this other plan, or do you need to take additional courses? We are recommending that students stay on their current plans, any current 9th, 10th, and 11th. But we do know that there will be some students that will want to opt in because of the flexibility in the CTE pathways, pharmacy tech, whatever. So we do know that there will be some students that will opt in. I can't even predict what that would be. But they will have that option. All students will be able to opt in.
But that would be, English 4 wouldn't be a requirement. So as juniors right now are selecting classes for their senior year, will those students have then the option to choose something other than English 4?
They would select it. They can select anything from that list of advanced English courses, English 4 being one of them. There's some others like creative writing, journalism. There's some other courses that they could select. So instead of selecting English 4, if they opted into the new plan and could meet the other criterion, then yes, they could select another class to satisfy that advanced English credit.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Vaughn?
I just want to thank you for keeping all of this in your head and all the work that you do. And I personally, I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I'm going to let our legislators know and how much it's affecting you. I don't know if they realize, kind of when they did STAR, they didn't realize what the impact was going to be when they passed that. So I just wanted to share that with you, that I'm going to be sure and let them know that how this is impacting our counselors. It would be interesting to know like a financial impact, like what would be an ideal number of counselors, or how the department would look if we had all the money we could have to sufficiently serve everyone without having you guys go crazy. So I do appreciate all you do. I know that you were overwhelmed to start with, so this is, thank you.
Okay, so are we all ready to take a vote? This is an action item. We have a motion, Ms. Duke, a second, Ms. Vaughn, and I believe everybody has spoken to the motion that has wanted to. So, all in favor? That is Ms. Vaughn, yes, Ms. Duke, Ms. Kyer, Ms. Sheffield, Ms. Latham. Those against? Ms. Cox and Mr. McDaniel. Thank you all very much. Moving on to the Griffin Middle School replacement. Dr. Burnett.
We are ready to recommend a contract be given to Balfour Beatty, contractor for the rebuild of Griffin. You have the recommendation, the letter from PBK, as well as the project budget. If you'll recall, Balfour Beatty was the construction manager on the LHS rebuild as well as the auditorium, and we will be bringing the crew that finished the auditorium. That leadership team will go to Griffin.
Okay, I'm sorry, I need a motion, please. Motion, Ms. Sheffield. Second, Ms. Latham. Ms. Brenda. Okay, Ms. Sheffield, would you like to, do you have any questions, concerns? Does anybody have any questions or concerns? Okay. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Moving on to the consent agenda. I keep debating that. Is there anybody that wishes to remove something from the consent agenda to vote on separately?
I do. I need us to please pull item 2D6.
2D6?
Due to a business conflict, yes.
Okay. Ms. Cox, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would like pulled C1, C5, and
what? C1?
C1, C5, and D7.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Ms. Sheffield.
Yes. I'm sorry. 2D9.
Okay, 2D9. 2D3. Anybody else?
Just to clarify, are they pulling these because they want to vote on them separately, or they just have a question? Or both?
Mine is to vote on separately.
I just was wanting to
I
make
think
sure
it's
we
mostly
clarify.
they.
Mine's a question.
Question. Well, why don't we just pull them and then we can vote them separately, just make it easier and everything. Okay, I need a motion, please, to approve consent agenda. Taking, oh, I'm sorry, oh, whoa. Okay, great. Okay, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing 2C1, 2C5, D3, D6, D7, and D9.
So moved.
I have a motion, Ms. Latham. I need a second. Mr. McDaniel? Would you, Ms. Latham, would you like to speak to your? Okay, yeah, because I know. Okay, so I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as motioned. So all in favor? That is unanimous. Ms. Arnold? Okay, so we'll just go right. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda 2C1. I need a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 2C1.
I have a motion, Ms. Cox. Second, Ms. Duke. Okay.
What page is that on?
What page is it on your?
Page 120. It is the social media consulting and implementation services. Ms. Cox, would you like to ask your question?
Yes. My question is going to be, is after the consultant is finished, what are the plans for the implementation and the results, and what do we hope to accomplish from this study?
Ms. Permetti, would you like to answer that?
Yes, I would love to answer this question. Our first step is to obviously have a social media audit. And what we're hoping from that audit is that we identify areas of our strengths and how we're utilizing the social media tools to communicate with our parents, review our plans, and identify areas of recommendation to increase and expand engagement. This has been a primary tool for communication, especially during the 2013 year. So based upon those recommendations, we'll determine next steps. It's hard to say exactly what we will do because we need to see those recommendations. And so there may be some future services that may be needed based upon those recommendations if we have the talent in-house. Training may be required, some consulting may be required. One of our goals is to expand our community outreach and the engagement that's part of our strategic design, and one vehicle is using our social media. We've been very effective with our social media town halls, for example, where people can submit questions and we can answer. We post videos. And we just want to take a 360 view of that and make sure we're reaching our audiences in the way they see fit, but as well as making sure we're maximizing all the opportunities that our social media platforms provide for us. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Oh. Oh, good.
Recall, we had a communications audit done not too long ago.
We had a communications audit performed during the 2009-2010 school year.
And what did we spend on that?
We spent a little over $13,000 on that.
What did we learn from that?
Well, 17 recommendations came from that audit. I believe we've implemented about 15 of those recommendations. Some of those recommendations included branding our district, that we needed a more effective brand. We have tailored our communications, which led to the 5 Pride newsletters. We overhauled our website. We have a mobile app in place. So we've done several things as far as what those recommendations came from. In 2009-2010, we really didn't have a robust communications department. We had one. But did we really utilize it? We didn't. We didn't have some foundations in place. And some of it is we needed to focus group our parents, what they needed from us. Where we are now, but those 3 years ago, we didn't have social media. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have Facebook. We were still having the conversation of PDFing documents. And so the communication industry has boomed in social media, and we just want to make sure we are maximizing all of our platforms.
Could you send me a copy when you get a free minute of that last audit?
Sure. Thanks. I can do that.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Anybody else want to speak to the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous. Moving on to 2C5. I need a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 2C5.
I have a motion, Ms. Cox. I need a second. Ms. Duke, thank you. Ms. Cox, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, just a small question was, how will this affect the replacement cost that currently people are paying, the $40? Will that take into consideration this, or will that affect any part of that?
And I'm sorry, I'd just like to point out to the people watching, this is for RFP for a tablet, laptop, and computer product repair and services.
I'll be glad to talk about that. You know, we're in the beginning stages of our program, and we certainly will be watching that, but it's really too early to make a determination. But in the future, if, you know, we do get to a point that we're not having broken devices, or then we can certainly look at maybe reducing that in the future. So we will watch that closely.
More of a clarification, the $40 is a replacement cost, correct?
Yes, it's also accidental loss and damage.
This is for, this is for everything we have, not just the iPads.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second, Ms. Duke, a motion, Ms. Cox, second, Ms. Duke. Anybody else, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous, thank you very much. Moving on, I need a motion for the D3, which is renewal of RFQ Architect Services. I need a motion, please. Motion, Ms. Sheffield. Second, Ms. Latham. Okay, who's the one that pulled this? Mike.
I did. My question is, why are we needing to extend it to 2015 instead of a year-to-year contract that we initially stated that we would have, I think, with annual renewals? And instead of, we're going out 2 years.
This is just a one-year renewal. Goes to January of 2015, a year from now.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a motion and a second. Anybody have any questions further? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Moving on, I need a motion and a second for renewal of CSP awards, trophies, pins, certificates, and ribbons. Ms. Duke, I believe you're the one that, this is the one you had a, okay. So, I don't want to, I need a motion. Motion, Ms. Latham. Second, Ms. Vaughn. Okay, and we're just removing this because she has to, okay. All in favor? That's everyone's in favor except for Ms. Duke who had her abstain. Moving on, I need a motion for renewal of Schlettke Center Standard Bearer School District Network. That is number D7. Ms. Cox?
So moved.
Motion, Ms. Cox. Second, Ms. Duke. Ms. Cox, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, my question is, what type of training does this provide and what benefits does it provide? It looks like it's a cost savings to the district, so I'm just curious on clarification of that. Dr. Riddell. Okay. Oh, Dr. Haynes.
Dr. Brockman is prepared to address the questions.
We leverage every ounce out of this Standard Bearer Network membership. This would be a renewal for us moving into a second year. Some examples of how it was used this last year was some training this summer where we had our principals and assistant principals at the leadership conference. We brought in their campus design teams for a half day, and then consultants from the Schlettke Center actually facilitated that training for the principals, assistant principals, and the teacher groups from their campuses that they chose to bring. We have used the Schlettke Center to provide our strategic design coaches with quite a bit of in-depth training on design qualities, which then they have turned around and provided introductory level training for approximately 80% of our professional staff over the last year. And when we're so stressing student engagement and using design qualities to really get to the heart of that student engagement in the learning process, that common language and that common training has been very important. Just this last week, we offered the second of 2 sessions that we've offered this year called Engaging the Net Generation. It's a 3-day learning experience for teachers where they are combining together design qualities for engaging students, understanding how students have changed in this technology era, and then how to use the technology as a part of that to lead to deeper engagement. We bring in Schlettke consultants to do that. And each of those times, I've had a waiting list of more than 45 people that can't get into the session because it's full. So I need to be able to continue to offer it. This fall, we also offered a 2-day session for administrators called Designing a Strategy for Staff Engagement. We had administrators come. Some chose to bring teachers with them, and they're clamoring for more. Offer it again so I can bring a team of teachers. Offer it more so my colleagues can come. The Standard Bearer Network membership gives us a number of advantages. It combines both the flexibility of bringing consultants in, which is really powerful when a lot of the Schlechte offerings that we're really interested in are offered in Kentucky. So it's cost prohibitive to send the number of people to that we would like. So we're able to bring the experts in. We also have, as part of the agreement, so many conference units. So when there is something offered in the Metroplex, I can send teachers to it and not pay an additional fee. Campuses don't need to pay a registration fee for their teachers because I've already got those units as part of the agreement. It costs us a lot less under this agreement than it would if I ask them to come in and to do this, and then ask them to come in to do this, and ask them to come in and do this, and treat it all as separate contracts or separate agreements. We also get a bonus. We get unlimited access to their experts to help us plan leading up to the sessions, as well as the follow-up and feedback after. I've got these folks at my fingertips that can help us as we're just trying to decide what to do next or framing the right context for a session. We're going to leverage some of these opportunities through our leadership conference this summer, where we're going to bring them in to provide the Principals Institute for all of our principals and assistant principals, and the Central Office Capacity Building Institute for all our central office administrators. And there's absolutely no way we could do that if I needed to send people to those sessions. It's cost prohibitive. I couldn't get everybody going at the right time, so we're able to bring it here within the LISD context. Just as a reminder or a point of clarification, this is not an additional budget item. This falls within the professional learning budget. We have the monies. This is how we are asking to spend them this time. It's, rather than going with a consultant here and a consultant there and another consultant, this is where we want to focus our attention because it is bringing so much value to us, and the products they are and services they are providing are creating a demand that I can't meet without the help.
One more question.
Yeah.
So obviously it's in the budget for the continued training, but being part of the network, so would you say that it is a cost savings to the district to be allowed to have more opportunities?
Yes, because I don't pay as much for each consultant I bring in than I would if I contracted with them separately on an each-by-each basis. And because we have the relationship, they're willing to do some things. They've committed practically their entire consultant staff to us the last week of July to pull off this conference that I want to do, that we feel is what's next for us because we have a relationship. What other questions?
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, so seeing no other questions, all in favor? That is unanimous. And moving on, I need a motion to consider D9 renewal of K-12 Insight. Who is the one that has to pull that? Ms. Sheffield? And I need a second. Second, Ms. Latham? Ms. Sheffield, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, Ms. Permetti, if you could just kind of, I know we've been using K-12 since January, but I don't know that as a board we've really heard much about how that's been used. So can you just kind of speak to how we've used it this past year and then what you see the benefit of using K-12?
This is typically you would be seeing this agenda item as an annual renewal, and instead you're seeing a 6-month. For various reasons. One in particular is that the board approved K-12 Insight this time last year. We've done a few things with them. We did a survey of surveyors, which is where we've surveyed all the departments and campuses to see what types of surveying they are doing to sort of see if we could streamline it. Because you would have one campus maybe doing a climate survey, but no one else did in a particular feeder pattern and that kind of thing. We also did a survey of surveys to determine the future needs of surveying our community and getting input. Our strategic design has lots of opportunities where we are needing feedback from students, staff, and parents, and so we were looking for a way that we could streamline all those efforts and partner with them. So this particular school year, we did the dress code survey throughout the district. We have a parent involvement / parent university redesign survey that's launching really any day now. We're just trying to get a few nuts and bolts taken care of. Climate surveys coming out this spring where all of our campuses and the district will be doing a climate survey. So we still have some scope and sequence of work to do for the remaining of this particular school year. And so at the end of the school year, we'll really be able to assess the value that K-12 has brought to us and see if this is a relationship we want to continue. But we're in mid-year. We have several things on the docket, if you will, and we need to complete that. And then we'll be able to really take a look and see if it's been a value-add service for us.
And is this we pay a fee for services up front, and then we can use them at our discretion, or how does that work?
Rick, do you want to answer that?
That works. Okay.
And one of the services they do is provide translation services. So, we don't have the staff to translate Spanish, Burmese, Korean, Vietnamese, those sorts of things. So when we need those types of surveys to be translated in those languages, they provide those services.
Have we used that this year, the translation?
You are now. Actually, our parent involvement survey is translated in the top 5 languages that students speak in our district. One of the things we're trying to determine specifically with this survey that's launching any day now is what are the learning needs of our parents and how we can best deliver that face-to-face, morning, afternoon, online, and what sorts of topics are they interested in.
Hold on, I think I have one more question. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. When are we going to find out the results of the dress code survey?
I would have to ask Ms. Godby on that one.
Well, you would ask that. I have a dress code committee meeting this Thursday. I'm replacing Ms. Godby while she's out on medical leave, so sometime this week.
All set? Ms. Latham, you look like you have squirrels running around your brain. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, all in favor? That is, oops, no, sorry, okay. All in favor is Ms. Vaughn, Ms. Duke, Mr. McDaniel, Ms. Kyer, Ms. Sheffield, Ms. Cox. Those opposed? Ms. Latham. Okay, and seeing none other business before the board, I motion we are adjourned. It is 9:39 p.m. Thank you all very much for joining us here tonight. Have a lovely week.